What is up, superfans? I'm Matt Stockholm, and this is another edition of the Quantum Corner. And happy 4th of July if you're in the USA. Today is 4th of July. I'm recording this video, and I just wanted to get this out there. So, yeah, guys, be safe. Have a great weekend and a great holiday. Okay, so the video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break down Spider-Man Far From Home. I'm sorry this is a little late. I actually watched it last weekend, but things have been a little crazy. So I'm going to break that down. Plus, I'm going to talk about a really important Easter egg, as well as a secret character that I think is all going to tie into Spider-Man, as well as Phase 4 in the MCU future. So huge details here. So if you don't want any spoilers for any of that stuff, now's your chance to walk away. So recently I did a Spider-Man Far From Home plot leak and post-credit video. And I'm proud to say that most of the stuff that was on there was spot on. So I don't want to go over too much of the same stuff, but I just want to break down the most important parts of the film, as well as the post-credits, and then let you know how that stuff ties together with the Easter eggs and the future. It starts out with Peter getting over the loss of Tony Stark, kind of re-establishing himself with school, figuring life out, as well as we know from the trailers that his crush on MJ and wanting to get closer with her. So when you get into the scene of the school, you find out that the snap is being called the blip. And basically everybody who was blipped away came back the exact same age. But the others who didn't blip aged 5 years. So they show a couple of the kids, one who blipped, one who didn't, and the main kid is Brad Davis. You actually see him in the beginning. And he actually ends up kind of being competition for Peter with MJ on the trip as kind of like a little side plot. While Peter's on the European trip, he gets the glasses that were left to him from Tony Stark. And they're called Edith, which stands for Even Dead, I'm the Hero. Gotta love Tony Stark and his acronyms, and still glorifying himself even in death. So I thought this was really cool. But it's like a super intelligent AI, controls weapon systems. I mean, it's a lot for Peter to handle. And we even see in his first scene using it, he almost ends up blowing up the school bus and killing Brad Davis, the kid that is kind of competing with him over MJ. So the basis of the film is this. The elementals are attacking. You find out that Mysterio comes into Europe and helps Spider-Man destroy Hydro Man. Nick Fury gets involved, which Peter was kind of dodging him, and so Fury's not too happy about it. But he finally gets Spider-Man, he gets him there, introduce him to Mysterio, which Mysterio explains he is from a different Earth, from a different universe, and that the elementals destroyed his Earth and killed his family. And you can see that Peter and him start getting close pretty quick and kind of have that kindred spirit, and they just get along really well. And Mysterio's a little older, so he kind of mentors Peter throughout the movie, and you really want to see Mysterio as a hero in this. But as we find out, he's not the hero, he's the villain. And basically he is a former disgruntled employee who worked for Tony Stark. He's the one that came up with the technology that Tony used to create Barf, which the biggest issue he had was Tony naming his life work Barf. So he says that Tony fires him and says he's unstable. So he puts together this team of people who have all been basically screwed over or fired or whatever by Stark Industries. There's one of the scientist guys from the first Iron Man movie, and just different people along the way that do their part kind of through this whole major scheme. Okay, so their initial goal is to befriend Peter, to have Mysterio, Quentin Beck, befriend Peter so that he can get Edith from Peter. And through the course of the movie, you see how Peter's torn between his life as a high school kid and just wanting to be on his trip and wanting to spend time with MJ and fighting with actually the call of being a hero. So Mysterio kind of works him over where he kind of makes Mysterio look good, and Peter kind of looks messed up and kind of looked bad a few times, and Mysterio kind of looks like the champion and the hero. And Peter says, well, maybe Tony didn't leave the glasses for me. I'm just a 16-year-old kid. You know, I can't control all this stuff. But maybe he left them to me because he knew I'd do the right thing. So he kind of talks himself into giving Mysterio the glasses. So eventually, with the help of MJ, Peter puts together that Mysterio's a villain. He finds out that the story's bogus, that he's really not even from another Earth, which brings in the multiverse stuff, but we'll talk about that hopefully a little bit later. So they find out he's a villain. He has his first battle with Mysterio almost kills Peter. But I gotta say, the movie does start slow. It does have kind of a slow start to it. But the two main battle sequences with Mysterio are really, really cool in the second and third act, and they make up for the slow start. And I'll say it's really action-packed, and the illusions and the stuff they do with Mysterio is really, really cool. So ultimately, with the help of Happy, Fury, and Hill, and even some of his friends, Peter does defeat Mysterio. And we find out that his greatest weapon is his Peter Tingle, as they call it, the Spidey sense. So he has to use that to defeat Mysterio because the illusions, he can't really see the stuff, so it's faking him out. So he has to use his Spidey sense to defeat Mysterio. So he does defeat Mysterio. He gets Edith back. Mysterio ends up dying in the battle, but releases the video, the doctored video that blames Peter for everything. That he created the elementals to fool everybody, that he killed Mysterio so he could take the place and basically be the new Iron Man. And this is this post-credit scene where we see J.K. Simmons reprising the role as J. Jonah Jameson from the Daily Bugle. And he puts the video out there and also reveals Peter's true identity, Peter Parker. So this is going to have huge implications in Spider-Man 3. Okay, another huge detail about the movie I want to talk about. There is a character in the movie known as Dimitri, and he's one of the bodyguard type chauffeurs for Nick Fury. But I believe this Dimitri is actually Dmitry Smirdakov, and he is the brother of Kraven the Hunter, better known as the face-changing chameleon. What? Yeah, so I believe that he's kind of laying in the background. He may be actually the major influence behind this whole scheme. He may be the brains behind it all, and maybe Mysterio's working under him. Or maybe Mysterio doesn't really die, but it's some kind of face-changing technology, and they think they've killed the real Mysterio, but he's not dead. Another little theory I had was, what if it was actually the chameleon that was killed looking like Mysterio, and then Kraven the Hunter finds out about it, and that's what brings him after Spider-Man. Maybe he puts together the Sinister Six team like the Vulture and the Scorpion to come after Spidey after his brother's been killed. So there's a lot of ways they could spin this, but I definitely believe this is the chameleon, and this is building up to the MCU version of the Sinister Six. Whether Mysterio is actually alive or not, we'll kind of have to wait and see, but being as he is a trickster and illusionist, I would not be surprised. And I think this is going to build into the Sinister Six. Alright, now I want to take you back to Iron Man 2. When Iron Man, Tony Stark, is in front of Congress, and he's giving the speech over the Iron Man suit, and then Justin Hammer gets up and he gives a speech, and he says, Tony Stark has a sword, and he's calling it a shield. I believe right there is the Easter egg for sword and for shield being together in the MCU. Okay, now let's talk about the other post-credit scene. When we see at the end of the movie that Fury and Hill are actually Skrulls, it's actually Talos and his wife, and they are filling in for Fury. And when they contact Fury in the end, we see him up in space, he's on a base with all these Skrulls around, and he's kind of like enjoying this fake beach simulation inside the ship. Well, I believe that this ship is actually the space station known as the Peak. The Peak is the main space station in SWORD. SWORD standing for Sentient World Observation Response Department. And this is basically like the shield of outer space in the comics. And Nick Fury does run SWORD for a time in the comics, and I think this ties in with him leaving with Captain Marvel in space, being at the space station, being with the Skrulls, leading into the cosmic MCU, which is definitely going to happen as we move farther and farther into the newer phases. So I think this is a huge Easter egg for the future of the MCU. SWORD has been involved in a lot of stuff, and much like S.H.I.E.L.D., it's had Hydra and things infiltrate and take over, and then with talk of like the Secret Invasion, could some bad Skrulls infiltrate SWORD through Nick Fury's team and the base and start making moves towards Secret Invasion. Now the other thing is, SWORD later gets handed down from Nick Fury to Abigail Brand, who ends up being in charge of SWORD, and she actually ends up being a mutant. Now SWORD first debuted in Astonishing X-Men, so I think this also is leading us closer to mutants in the MCU. So I think this is going to build to a lot of things, whether it's the Secret Invasion storyline, the X-Men, I mean the list goes on, the things that can happen out of this. But I believe that this is SWORD, this is showing that SWORD is relevant in the MCU and will be a huge player moving forward. Alright, well that's pretty much it, guys. I know this was a longer video, but definitely let me know what you think about the review, about the movie. What do you think about the chameleon? What do you think about the sword Easter egg? Definitely give me your opinion and your feedback, because it matters so much. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment down below. That will get you into our giveaway. We're getting really close to our next poster giveaway, which is at 200. And our new 1K subs giveaway is going to be the Marvel Legends Nanotech Gauntlet. So keep watching, keep sharing, keep paying attention, guys. For the Quantum Corner, I'm Matt Stockholm saying, stay super, everybody, and happy 4th of July, guys. Take care.